that second part of the first sentence, that it collectively shared transmitted knowledge. I've been riffing on this in my head in the last few days. I've done a couple of podcasts recently around the Western canon. Had some guests on who are selecting key figures and some unheralded, and their shtick is attempting to bring back some level of consciousness about the cultural heritage. And anyway, this collectively shared transmitted knowledge, the Western canon is all based on that. I mean, right through to biblical scripture, whether it's Handel's Messiah or Bach's Requiem or Dante's Inferno or Chaucer's Canterbury's Tale or all of Shakespeare, they're all self-referential to one another. And in fact, that the medieval worldview pretty much maps right up to Second World War. And then there's this break, really, of any works that are produced since that point don't really refer back to the same things. And anyway, I have a little fraternity of English teachers around me, and they often talk about reloading the canon, adding new things into the canon for various reasons. But what I question there is that it's not necessarily possible, because we no longer really use that collectively shared transmitted knowledge, because that worldview isn't really the guiding light of our policy frameworks, of our everyday discussions, or everyday lives. And so, where am I going with this? I suppose for some who recognize that period of continuity and that sense of this is what we're about, this is what this nation is, what the West is, that feels like something that has been lost, and we're scrabbling around a bit. Where are now our shared repositories of knowledge? And I wonder if this is partly why, in this big liquid modern world of rapid change, and then we've got lots of demographic change and different peoples and cultures then living amongst previously settled ones, is this upheaval of language and a lack of common reference contributing to a disorientation? Do people find, or why do people find rapid cultural change disorienting? What is it within us that leads us to feel that way?
Well, that's a deep question, and why it's disorienting, I could speculate. I haven't really studied that per se, but you're right. There is a period. I have the sense that the shared canon, the shared knowledge of what you can assume everybody else in society also knows, is more and more difficult to maintain. Partly, there's so much more information available now. If we go back half a century to where there were only a couple television channels, and you couldn't tape shows or anything, so most people were watching the same show on the same time, and that meant the next day you could talk to people who probably had watched the same thing. Um, discussion of movies was a common feature in the early part of my life of social life, but it's stopped now because the movies are available all different times. I mean, you used to have to just watch the movie when it was playing in the theater in your town, and it'd be there for a week or maybe 2 weeks if it was a hit. So you went to see it or not. But that was what people talked about. Now, since there's so many different things, and if you start to talk about it at a party, someone will say, "Oh, I haven't seen it yet. Don't tell me what happens."
Mm.
And so you can't. There's certainly much more information available, and many more entertainments available. So in that sense, we're vastly richer. But the commonality that we all encountered the same information, that's broken down. And the local newspapers that had to appeal to everyone on the political spectrum, um, they sort of kept people together, and they would have opinion columns from both sides and so on. But those have failed, and now people tend to follow the news from only one side of the political spectrum, whatever agrees with them, and so they become more polarized. They have less understanding of what the people on the other side are thinking, and that contributed to some of the increasing partisan hostility, between sort of center left and center right parties in quite a few countries.